6 o'clock, I'll call the February 2026 meeting to order, Nelson County Council. We'll pause for a moment of silent reflection. Rise into the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. No, we can't.
Roll call.
All right.
Really turn your microphone on. Oh, no. It's not, okay. just-
Jay Davis here. Brian Williams here. Jerry Burmeister.
Here.
Marissa Scraggs. Okay, Scraggs,
I'll insert any.
whatever your name is. Steve Denny.
I'm just gonna-
Steve's not here tonight.
4 out of 5 members, we have a quorum. In our Teams folder, we have a copy of the January meeting minutes. Are there any questions, concerns, comments, changes for those?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve the January 2026 meeting minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, clerk treasurer's report. We are still finishing out 2025, so we do not have the claims ready, nor do we have the current report. Is that correct, Willie?
That is very true.
Anything you'd like to add?
We're working on it. It's just taking a little longer.
Closing out the year boys, a little bit of a challenge. So, seeing as we don't have anything to approve, we will skip that. Moving on to department reports. Chief Farr is out tonight, so we will move on to the park. And Sherry Bell.
Good evening. A lot of indoor things happening over the winter, a lot of equipment updates and maintenance repairs happening indoors. We've had some warmer weather a little bit, and so Donnie and his crew have been outside working on the ditch, and that's been good getting out a lot of those dead logs out of there. I'm really excited to work with United Way. I mentioned that in my report that I'm working with a young lady who has applied for a grant and has funds to bring in some really cool hands-on activities for our kids, whether that's some, we have some paths that they can do some really cool stencils on our sidewalks around Barnhart Field and some signage around our playground. So excited to work with her on that. Golf course is doing well for winter. We've got a lot of simulator activity. Our impact fee study was approved by the park board, and so we're moving forward with B3 companies and looking forward to working with Chuck Lehman and his team on that. And Alvin D. Brown Pool. I know it seems like a ways away, but it's going to be here before you know it. So a lot of work is underway, updating things for that. We have gone through some interview processes for our new manager over there. And so we're looking forward to getting all of that going. Any questions?
Questions for Sherry? This is kind of the calm before the storm for you all.
Yes.
I know that you're spending a lot of
Yes,
time
ma'am.
planning though and getting ready for nicer weather.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. Moving on to the planning department.
Evening. Okay, here before us, we have a summary of our planning, that's our production in the month of January. As you see, the year always starts out a little bit slow, but we're actually picking up really quickly this month. But we're pretty comparison to last year's numbers. Go ahead and slide to the next page. As far as our board and commission meetings, our planning commission, both items that we have here for updates, we will be presenting later on tonight. They both received a favorable recommendation by that body. So we'll kind of reserve and talk about those a little bit later on. Board of Zoning Appeals, we did have a variance from developmental standard on this one. This was regarding a site on the south end of town on South Main Street regarding exterior materials that aren't in line with our standards. But then also looking at kind of maintaining some of those site features that are already in place. That was continued till, and likely will be continued to the April meeting. There's some more additional information that has been requested from the petitioner and try to work some things out and kind of discussion around the surrounding property owner. So Urban Forestry Committee, we had some good project updates, some applications. We applied for Tree City USA. We're hoping to hear from that Arbor Day Foundation here this next month. And we've done a kickstart on our Indiana DNR poster contest with the fifth graders at the Pendleton Elementary Intermediate School. So they are in full swing. They are in actually production mode right now, and we'll be getting to see the top winners of that here in March, and we'll get to vote and move forward to the state contest on that. Here, as far as development for the planning department, we do have some site plans that are underway. We have BP gas station we're working with, and Hannah Rose is communicating with the developer on the water line realignment. They're going to change the connection of where they're going to access water. And so once that's submitted, we do have all the drainage approvals from the county, Madison County Drainage Board. So we should be able to move quickly once we get those things reestablished. The Subway Retail Center then just west of Starbucks there and Three Rivers Federal Credit Union. We're waiting for approvals on their drainage plan and just some architectural site details as well that Hannah Rose is communicating with their developer on that piece. We did receive recently an application for a site development plan for the property that is southeast of the roundabout there at Heritage Way off of State Street. That was filed by Culvers, and so we are still waiting a complete application. So once we get all that buttoned up, there's been some initial comments that were sent out to that developer, but we do need some other materials to be able to move that forward. But we will keep you, informed along the way. As far as our residential subdivisions, we do have Baker's Point. They are, if you've not been out west, they are building very fast. They have about 16, 17 homes that are already from either foundation all the way up to even a couple of them have certificate of occupancy. Those are the 2 model homes. So they are complete. We do have some groundwork that needs to be done for landscaping. However, they are moving quickly, and we just had yesterday 6 new building applications also applied for building permits. So that neighborhood is progressing very well. Things are going, once we kind of got the earth movement, utilities and roadways and so forth going, things are going really well on the home construction side. The other is our Huntsinger Farm subdivision. It's moving along steadily. We actually just learned that they're going to have a new superintendent. So we are going to be working with them, meeting with them here in a couple of weeks, along with their regional manager to kind of go over some processes and just to make sure that we have some smooth operations and understanding of from, the application to all the different inspection phases, just to make sure that not only that it is a positive experience for the developer, for our also current residents in those subdivisions, as well as those new residents that will be moving in. As far as project updates, we have a few here to share with you. We have our US 36 reroute. That is our Water Street intersection planning study. There, it is being conducted by CDM Smith, that consultant since our second steering committee that we had here this past fall. They have been looking at analyzing the traffic and crash data that they had collected for the current conditions. And so they've taken that and also in addition to stakeholder feedback and input from the property owners around that area, just to see as far as what could be a good traffic flow, maybe some relief from those congested areas off of 300 West, US 36 and State Road 67. So looking at a possible additional roadway connection from 36 to State Road 67 and or relocation for US 36. So as this develops, this is just for a planning document. And so that's going to be key to be able to make some future decisions as that area develops in the future. They are going to be putting together 4 alternatives. They're about wrapped up on that. And then we're going to be sharing that with the steering committee for the 3rd meeting here early March. And late March, early April, we'll be having a public meeting, more details to come So once the location and time is set on that, then we'll invite the public to come in and take a look at those plans. And then from there, we'll narrow it down to 2 alternatives that then, if a roadway gets improved there, we'll know exactly as far as what best meets those areas for circulation, safe traffic and pedestrian safety are also key as part of that project. The third one is our business park trail. We are under PE design phase and pretty substantial accomplishment here this past week. The stage 1 plans are done by Banning Engineering. This was months of work by Mark Butler and Jason Eisenhart. This is a 75-page document in detail from about 2.5 miles across of trail connectivity from I-69 all the way down here to the downtown area that would eventually connect into the park. So this is a very extensive look, research, design and trail design, location, identification of public utilities, as well as trail amenities along the way. So we look forward to being able to share that project as that gets kind of solidified and through NDOT approval and input. So we just conducted staff. We went out and did a site visit, kind of just seeing where this trail is anticipated to best align in different locations. And we will be meeting with NDOT and MCOG and sharing that with them. So just kind of keep in mind, this is an 80% funded design project through NDOT. And so we want to make sure that, we meet their standards as well. So once we get that and things are set to go, we'll be moving on to stage 2 plans. And that is anticipated to wrap up. That'll go into a little bit more of the right-of-way acquisitions and looks and environmental issues. And so once we get through that, we anticipate that'll be done by the end of 27, or excuse me, the end of 26, beginning of 27. And so hopefully then when funds become ready, we'll start to be able to construct piece by piece these sections of this trail, starting in late 28, early 29. I-69 interchange master plan update. I'm going to kind of reserve pause on this, but we did receive a favorable recommendation for this plan, which will be an appendix of our I-69 master plan that was done back in 2021. So that is going to be presented tonight by our consultants from HWC, and that was given a favorable, and that was back in January. And so we will present that to you for your consideration later on tonight. The Pendleton Master Arts and Culture Plan, this is kicking off really well with Designing Local as our consultant on this project. They're actually out of Chicago, or of Cincinnati, sorry, Hannah, Cincinnati and Columbus area, and they have done a lot of work in the state of Indiana. So they've worked with Warsaw, Terre Haute, Danville, and South Bend on a lot of their arts and culture plans. And so we have formed our steering committee and working with Jasmine and the team, we're going to be coordinating this week, kind of more of a solidified timeline, getting our steering committee members on board with this project, and then also having a site visit with her to kind of go around the area. So this is going to be a fun project, and I think that it's one that our community is really going to enjoy. We'll make sure that we have a public aspect of that too, that we can vet and get their input as well. The next one is our road impact fee plan. So on this particular project, we just had about a week ago, we had our second steering committee meeting. This meeting, we reviewed the current conditions evaluation that the consultants had collected traffic data for functionality on road segments, various road segments, about 50 of them over the town of Pendleton jurisdiction, as well as about 50 intersections. So they took a look at how traffic flowed with timing and stacking, and kind of how long someone would have to sit there before then they would be able to then continue on through that intersection or in that roadway. And so what that does is that once those calculations are put in, there's a grade to that. And so if there is a grade of, say, D or lower, that is an area that already shows that it may need some attention even prior to some of our identification of projects in our new replacement plan road impact. So The next step is, and we just met with them internally with staff, is looking at growth projections. So we're looking at the next 10 years, where do we expect to grow? Where do we project that we're going to develop both residentially and as well as commercial development? And what we do is with the anticipation of that population growth and build out in square footage with those commercial establishments, then we take those numbers, we put those back into those calculations for those traffic counts. And then we see if the grading of those intersections and road sections change. So if they drop to a felon, then we know, and that helps us identify the projects that are going to go into our road impact fee zone improvement plan. So we are on target here. We will be finishing this up here. We need to make sure that we have this back here for presentation by June of this year. Again, this is going to sit for about 6 months. We have that natural 6 months lag pause based on the state statute, and then we'll have our new road impact fees and ordinance in place. So then that way they'll be effective for January of 27, when our current plan then is set to expire. We will keep you kind of informed, along the way. And on this, we are working with ANF Engineering. So it's been a good, smooth process so far. Second, next here for Main Street Pendleton, I'd like to pause for a second. I have someone here in the room I'd like to introduce. We have our new staff member, Lexi. I don't know if you want to raise your hand here, but this is Lexi Duff. Lexi Duff is our newest team member to the planning department. She is our community development coordinator. So she just started last week. And so kind of the next two projects, the reason why I wanted to pause here to introduce and welcome her is because she's going to be a big part, an instrumental part in these programs and how they develop here in the next few years. Lexi is a graduate from IUPUI. She graduated with tourism and event coordination, and she comes with 7 years of working with Butler in their athletic events coordination there, and ticket office and fan relations. So she's going to be a great asset, not only to the planning department, she's very excited to be able to be kind of up front, facing with the community and that kind of side of event coordination and activities and programs. And also she's going to be a great asset to Main Street Pendleton as well. So with Main Street Pendleton, she will assume here this next year as executive director of that board. And she has done a phenomenal job already jumping on and getting some training. We're going to be going through some extensive training with Indiana Main Street to kind of help build our board there for Main Street. The board for Main Street Pendleton is phenomenal. They are really excited about a great year, getting stronger, building their foundation, and also present in the community and kind of building out those programs that a newly accredited program, they've only been accredited with the state here for about a year and a half or so. So they're ready to get on board. And I think it was in 23 when they went through the Indiana Main Street accreditation. And so they're really looking forward to kind of building their impact on the community and the relationship, especially even with their downtown business owners. But again, thank you and welcome for joining us. You're going to be a great asset to our team. Then the next project is our Creating Convergence project, the last one I have here to share about tonight. We are very excited that this was a grant that was through Indiana Arts Commission. It was a collaboration and partnership with the Pendleton Art Society. So we have a crew there that, they really are passionate about wanting to extend art projects, art presence in our community. Not only does it help promote local artists, it also, this project is going to encourage trail connectivity, creating that positive experience for our community members and visitors alike. And then also this project is going to highlight cultural amenities throughout our park as well as in our downtown. And so we're looking forward to getting this started. We had a little bit of an issue trying to be able to find a product that can hold the 6x6 by 6 foot post that these artists then, once we go through an application and selection process here the next month, they can either paint or they can carve these poles. They can even add creative metal, art, whatnot, within certain constraints and guidelines of the project. But those trail markers are going to be placed strategically throughout the community. There's going to be a QR code there that's going to give the significance of where they're placed, give a little bit of storytelling on that. And then we're going to create a story map that will be on our line that then they can kind of follow that trail. And then those are intended to be traveling, so we'll change those locations periodically, just to kind of switch things up. I want to give a huge shout out to Rick Bolin. Rick Bolin, if you don't know Rick Bolin, he is probably one of the most resourceful individuals that we have here for the town. He is amazing to work with, and he came through on this project. We were trying to find these cement bases that can safely hold these posts that won't get topped over, won't have vandalism, won't have, anyone trying to kind of move and when to take down. And so he connected me and we went out to Streetscape Group out in Fishers, and they actually customized this base that will work perfectly for this project. So Lexi and I met with the committee last night. We are working on getting the documents ready to get out. So here in the next week or two, we're going to be putting the call out to the artists. We're looking at about 8 of those, and our goal is to be able to have those then designed, created then over the course of the winter months, spring, and then our first farmers market on the 9th of May. We'd like to be able to have a nice reveal to the community for this project. So looking forward to that, and I think that is all I have. If you have any questions?
Questions for Denise?
You.
Okay, thanks, Denise. Scott, town manager's report.
Okay, if we can just go ahead and go to the pictures. We now officially have a water territory, so that's the darker blue. The light blue is the town boundaries, and that was our municipal water department. Now it is basically twice the size now. The only oddball is, remember, we have a couple of donut holes there on the west side, the other side of the interstate. So it's official. It became official January 28th. And so the next steps are, we've talked a little bit about it, finding, now that we know the boundaries, finding where the wells are, doing a facilities master plan, figure out what we need for water treatment plants in the future, where the water lines will run, start updating our procedures, because this is now going to be more than just our town boundaries. We need to have that set in stone before development starts happening in the blue area. So a lot of work to do now that it's official. It was a long time coming. So the other thing that's been a long journey, if you go to the next slide. So the last phase of the McCarty Drain, which started clear at the pond on the other side of Pendleton Avenue by the old co-op where Outfitters is. This is the third phase that starts basically, if you remember the photos, this is on the AMVET side. And the last phase was just to get underneath the railroad tracks underneath 67 and connect to a pre-existing manhole. That line that has been there for, not that line, but the old line had been there for well over 100 years and had collapsed in probably 1,000 places between there and where it needed to be discharged. So this is when we had touchdown. We finally got to the other side. Then next picture, they built the manhole. If you see, you sort of see a pipe coming out of there on the right side. That was where the phase 2 had ended. We connected it to that manhole. That'll be an inlet also in that field. And then now we'll jump to the other side of 67 on the Gardner property. And the light blue pipe on the right, it is the pipe that's come underneath by boring underneath the railroad in 67. And then the large one to the left is a stub off. So if there's ever any development on that side of town, this is eventually where it will be. This is a significant stormwater line. The little 6-inch, 8-inch line you see beside the big one to the left, that's if Gardner's or the other farmers around that area that want to connect field tile, that'll be a way they could do it. Or if you see the little pipe there at the bottom, that connects to the pre-existing old manhole that obviously had not been working for decades. The farmers can also connect to that pre-existing manhole. Go to the next slide. And then here they are making the connection. The one on the left is the old manhole. The right is the new one. And then all that work and all that money just to get that little inlet. When it all gets covered up, and it was sort of, I don't know, all the pain and the money, a lot of federal money involved, and then the touchdown goal was that little disc. So, but it is significant, the project that we have done. So happy to be to this point. All we have to do now is do the grading. The next thing, we won't stay on this long, got the guys together and we want to do a long range vehicle plan with what we want to do with our vehicles, our light vehicles, which is our pickup trucks and our dump trucks, our utility pickups that have the utility bed on the back. Our pickup trucks are all, and the dump trucks are also where we hook up our snow blades and the salt box and all that. And what we're going to investigate is going to, which is recommended best practice, to go take advantage of the fact that pickup trucks hold value a long time, and so do these small dump trucks. And we're going to look at a leasing program where we cycle out the vehicles before they start costing us money and while they still have a high resale value. So we're working with the enterprise. We've set to them what we thought our plan should be. And then they're going to come back with the finances. Willie's an expert on vehicles. He sat in on those meetings, and it may work and it may not. If it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. And anyway, that's sort of our undertaking right now. Next slide. So of course we had the big snow, and the guys did a phenomenal job. This is Monday morning. So the snow hit us all Saturday, right? The guys did a 12-hour shift, all hands on deck with water and street. And then lo and behold, we get done with the snow plowing and this starts happening. So this is the one that's close to the Elm Street construction project. It was later in the week. Earlier, I think it was Tuesday, we had the worst case scenario, a huge water main break on State Street, just as the rush hour. Well, it happened about 1 a.m, and it was -20 some odd below zero wind chill factor. The raw temperature was negative when all that one happened. The vac truck was our hero on both those. The guys were able to keep up with it, and that was all hands on deck. Street department and water department, of course, concentrated on the State Street water main break. And we had to call the electric department because usually you don't have to worry about storm drains freezing up, because when it's below zero, water doesn't flow. Storm drains aren't really designed to work in sub-zero. Well, guess what? We had thousands of gallons flowing down the street, and there was no place to go because the inlets had frozen up for the storm lines. So we got the electric department out, and their whole job was just to keep those inlets open. They connected up those hoses that we used to unfreeze water meters. They hooked it up to their exhaust pipes on the trucks, and they just stayed at that one intersection there at the Adams and State, and that was their whole job, as you can imagine. At one point, we had a foot of water at the bottom there at Franklin and State, and it wanted to freeze, and it wanted to freeze fast. So we got to it just in time and got those inlets opened. Some of them we couldn't get open. They were just a solid block of ice. Okay, next slide. Okay, nothing happened really on Elm Street because of the weather. Hardy Drain, we just talked about. There's the finances if you want to review. Next slide. Continue to be under design. We've
taken a couple bids on the construction, some parts of the substation. We've rejected the bids just because one of them was incomplete. Engineers came back. Some of the contractors that bid pointed out some things they could improve on, so we're gonna rebid the labor for the construction of the steel. Next slide. Yeah, you go to the next one. So the parcel we're gonna talk about later is parcel 7, which is right there where, if I can get the laser. And if my eyes work right, parcel 7 is this one. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I thought I'd just bring that map up while I was doing my presentation. So anyway, any questions?
Questions for Scott? Thanks.
It's
Okay. We have no old business. So we will move on to our first item of new business, ordinance 2026-01, amending the UDO for the Gateway Corridor overlay to include 700 South.
So if you want to scroll, if you want to go on down to, I think the last map that they go, I think it is horizontal, a little bit farther down. The very last one. Yes, right there. Perfect. Back in about October 2024, the planning department, with the help of the planning commission, we went through a process that a part of our unified development ordinance, we had created, established an appendix to that document. And that appendix was the Gateway Corridor Overlay District. So the purpose of that district and those additional standards that we had created was to build in some enhancements for developmental standards and requirements, including even some land use allowances and so forth for our kind of our main gateway areas within our community. So as you could see, pointer, but you can see kind of the data dashed line. So basically where this applies, the applicable and the purpose of this appendix and this portion of our UDO, it falls in line here. So these additional developmental standards will apply then here from center line of I-69. It goes out a half of a mile on both sides. Then on any state street, so corridor entryway into your community here along. Not working, apologize. 67 here from the south end, all the way from the north here, near kind of North Pendleton Avenue. And then US 36, US 38, and that goes all the way from east to west from our jurisdictional boundaries. So those standards then apply, and the reason why is because those corridors, they play a very important role in our community's image. And it also helps kind of work in hand with our economic development and just making sure that our growth not only is smart, but it is sustainable growth. So there was a process in which they had got that established about a year ago. And then there was comments here this past fall from some of our planning commission members that they had expressed the interest in discussion in extending those and expanding that to 700 South. So 700 South, that is an area that we have Weber Concrete Plant that's out there. We also have Indy Boat Co. That is just right here on the southeast side of State Road 13 and 700 South. Jurisdictional wise, it all kind of meets up with several different jurisdictions. So we have on the southeast side, we have the town of Pendleton. Then up here on the northeast of State Road 13, and then also the northwest of State Road 13 is the town of LaPel. And then right here, and I apologize, this is, oh, okay, I do apologize, okay. Thank you. So this here is LaPel. This property here parcel belongs to, it's in the town of Ingalls, and then the property here to the west, those are all under unincorporated Madison County. So if just kind of give you a little bit of connectivity to Hamilton County here to the farther of the west here, This is 146th Street, and it comes right in here to State Road 13 and 700 South. Our thoroughfare plan and some other plans, we have envisioned that we'd eventually connect into that road in some fashion that would tie in some here, some way, through these parcels here up through, to State Road 38. This future, but in doing so and just knowing that the development is starting to come, there's development there in Hamilton County, about 1,100 acres there. And they are envisioning their master plan development that within 10 years, they're going to be fully developed in mixed use, entertainment and so forth. And we project that that growth is going to continue to develop then farther to the east. So the conversation was from planning commission members is that do we want to go ahead, and it just barely touches these standards, touch the very south end of this front parcel. Do we want to extend it into along 700 South on the south side, which is in our jurisdiction? So then that way, if development does, come, we have those standards in place and we have that ability to then work with the developers to assure that those higher standards are met. So after probably 3-4 months, they discussed and kind of, talked back and forth, on that. And they did decide that they would like to have that same instead of the, so we have 600 feet off of the State Street. We have then again, that half a mile off of I-69, but State Street alone, that is this runway in here, we do have 200 feet. So they applied 200 feet off of 700 South then, that then would also apply to that Gateway Corridor overlay. So they did give a favorable recommendation and would like for your consideration on whether or not to pass that amendment to the UDO to make that adjustment. Does anyone have any questions for me on that? Be more than happy to.
Questions for Denise? We can just do one read for full approval, correct? Like, yeah. And you'll see that same model happen on item C, where that's already received approval. Since we adopted our new or changed our code, it does allow for us to just do one read at town council for this. No questions for Denise regarding this? 15 years ago, if you had asked me whether 700 South would be considered a gateway into Pendleton, I probably was in, well, maybe during the fall, during Smith's season. But I wouldn't have probably bet my house on that being a big deal. So nice that the planning commission is thinking through that. I've seen a fair amount of development along that corridor. And it is serving as a gateway on the west side. Anybody in the audience have any about this before we entertain a motion? Yeah.
Is this available on the web?
Yes. Yeah.
It's under our plans and documents. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, if there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 2026-01, amending the UDO for the Gateway Corridor overlay 700 South.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 2026-01, amending the UDO Gateway Corridor overlay 700 South. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Moving on to item B, resolution 2026-01, the Pendleton I-69 interchange master plan update.
So this past year, we've been working with Chris Ham and Caleb Rothenberger from HWC Engineering. I've got Caleb right here, ready to present. He's really worked hard guiding us through this process. Again, this is an appendix to the I-69 master plan. This, and we will illustrate this in the presentation, but it is relevant to about 960 acres that are south and west of State Road 38. And both west of I-69. So this study is an extension of the I-69 interchange master plan. It was used to identify feasibility of the development out there, land use, concept designs, and identification of infrastructure conflicts, and any type of red flags that when development does come, it's going to be huge for us to be able to have on hand with our conversations with the developers that are looking at developing in that area, as well as being helpful tools for them. So this did get a favorable recommendation, again, from Plan Commission. And that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Caleb. He will present this plan and then we can, any questions that you have, we're more than happy to answer.
Well, she said about everything and stole my introduction, so.
Oh.
My name is Caleb Rothenberger with HWC. As she said, and as you're aware, in 2021, you had a interchange master plan that was roughly over 2,000 acres. This dove into a portion of a called the Keystone District, which is on the west side, encompassing about 370 acres. And really, with all the development that's been happening, this was thought to be, further down the way. But really, they wanted to try to figure out, what is the vision for this, so they can react to it in a thoughtful way. So this started back late spring, and we want to make sure this was designed with a committee decisions in mind. Formed a steering committee with about 14 people or so, and made up of staff, business owners, property owners in the area to make sure it was informed. And along with other stakeholder focus group meetings. At the same time, we wanted to make sure it reflected the principles that were in the original 2021 interchange master plan. Make sure we're still guiding in that same direction. Focus being, they wanted to be based on, market research and geared toward development that would enhance and not compromise the historic downtown. Some other considerations that we took in when developing concepts for this area was really thinking this is more of a long range vision of, probably won't realize in the next 20, 30 years. So understanding that this is trying to capture what you want this to be, what can it be? Making sure that, it captures what this landmark development could be in that area. At the same time, understand that staff would have to give thoughtful consideration to any sort of development that would go into that Keystone District. So as you don't just pull in anything that first comes into that development in the area. With also considering, the development of this part of the interchange would provide more modern development for uses that you may not want to accommodate downtown, that won't compromise historic downtown while still valuing the success of downtown and providing space for more contemporary land uses in this district. This is also meant to be a concept, so it's fluid, as market changes, as development changes. This isn't set in stone. This is more of a vision for a path forward. This had two parts to it. A lot of due diligence here, looking at everything that was reflected in the interchange master plan, market analysis, at the same time, going through a comprehensive plan update, making sure that this aligned with those decisions. And then the downtown revitalization plan, any decision made that were reflected in this plan. Also looking at all the existing conditions from development, natural features, topography, drainage patterns, utilities, and the report outlines, potential conflicts and strategies to help with future development. One of our focus group meetings, we wanted to kind of get their ideas of what is their idea for a landmark development. What do they want this district to feel like? So we went through a lot of different building typologies for different land uses, from hotel, retail, housing, commercial, office, industry, to kind of see what forms are they drawn to. A lot of it was kind of this more built up, modern, contemporary feel, more finishes, higher end finishes. And looking at this area, we kind of stepped back and the focus was the Keystone District, which was 370 acres. So really, to understand the impacts of that district, we really had to step back and look at that full 1,000 acres of that western side of the interchange. So to make sure that we aren't kind of landlocking ourselves into something that, how the rest of the land is not going to react to that development. And looking at that, you start to think, this level of development, this intensity, we wanted to have the steering committee and the focus group kind of understand, the scale of the property that this vision is for. 370 acres is a really big area, and looking at, it's a lot of that kind of venture out across 38, closer to 450 acres. And some of the developments that they were drawn to, look like similar development that you see exit 210, 205, Hamilton Town Center, and others. And so we tried to show them kind of an overlay of comparison of, what that looks like. And, here, this image, you can kind of see the red outline to the right here. That's Fisher's District, which is, I think, captures the look and feel of that more dense core that they were all drawn to. And we're trying to, help them understand the feasibility of the expanse of 400 acres of that is, it's not sustainable. So trying to get them on board with, you're gonna have to have other supporting land uses, other types of developments that kind of feed into what your landmark development might be. Still have that sort of development. But again, Hamilton Town Center, even smaller within that. So understanding it, I think we went into this, a lot of steering committee members or focus group were thinking that they wanted the entire Keystone District to be something more like Hamilton Town Center, this kind of built up urban for a lot of shops and retail. And the reality of that is, current stance, that's just not sustainable for that scale. So looking at, how do we make development like that sustainable within this and then have other supporting land uses around it. So going back to the comprehensive plan, we aligned all those land uses or developing that, but then also created this regional attraction land use that's specific to this district. That would be, a regional entertainment hub land use that would be part of the landmark Keystone District, or also other supporting areas for that. We broke this up into kind of 4 zones. Zone A being the premier Keystone District, which is kind of your denser development core, which would have some sort of landmark development within it, or landmark entertainment use. And then Zone B, just to the east of it, is more of your regional attraction, regional support, commercial hotels, other things that may support users off the interstate or other people coming to the main landmark district. And then kind of buffering to the south is more centered to residential uses. So residential, commercial, mixed residential, for that residential growth that's happening south 38. North of the site, again, kind of buffering this with more estate type home developments or executive homes north of that Keystone District. Diving into a little more detail here, looking at the Zone A, which is kind of the main landmark development district of the Keystone District. This is where you'd have more of that 2 to 3 story retail development, mixed use uses with some sort of fronting public park space combined with that regional stormwater management system, trying to combine a lot of your stormwater into larger ponds that can buffer your park space. And then to the east, this is more of your regional support, regional attractions. So this is sports, field house, higher end regional retail uses, support hotels or banquet centers, or other flex office space. Does this become opportunity for business headquarters, those types of uses. And then to the north, connecting, kind of then transitioning from more of a multifamily residential and then stepping it down into more of your single family residential, that corridor. And then, as I mentioned before, to the south, this becomes more of that residential district with a lot of support commercial uses, opportunities for assisted living, medical uses, other residential, commercial that might come with that. One thing we were thinking about when we were trying to come up with the vision of, what's attracting a landmark destination here? What's the draw outside of the people of Pendleton coming through this area? And there's a strong correlation between a lot of youth travel sports or minor league sports coming through the region. Indianapolis is a major hub for that. You have Grand Park to the west, and this is kind of that hub right before you enter the metropolitan Indy area, where you have a lot of people coming from central and northeast Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, coming through this I-69 corridor. And this is a direct connection over to Grand Park, or kind of your first stop before you hit all the other density of Indianapolis. So we see this being as kind of a launching pad for a lot of that type of demographic coming through the area, looking for hotels, looking for entertainment. And I think that's an opportunity to capitalize on that as an opportunity to bring in more of that high-end training facilities or other competition level facilities. I know to the east, you have more of your community-based health and sports facilities in that district. This is geared more towards actual competition level sporting events or leasing space, and in varying levels. Is this in 20 years, is there another minor league team for women's volleyball or some other sport that may come into this area? And then, or a higher end music venue that's more of a smaller scale, not like a Ruoff or like a Fisher's Event Center, but something more catered to a higher end type of music area. That's the fast version.
We appreciate that. Again, this did receive a favorable recommendation from planning commission. Denise, anything you'd like to add regarding the feedback from planning
Yeah,
commission?
I was gonna say, those planning commission, the steering committee, we also had several focus groups with stakeholders within the area, downtown business owners, all the way out to landowners around that area. They were very receptive of this plan, the final product, as well as they were very responsive in the comments that were contributed within all those sessions. So we really, appreciate all their hard work. They put a lot into this. It would be a great addition to this plan.
Any comments from the public before we entertain a motion? Oh, Lynn, you come up, please.
I think the comment I have to the town council is I represent about 217 acres within this, and emphasizes this is conceptual, that you will have to see what the people who want to invest in our community are willing to put their money down on. So, when you look at that, I want to make sure the town knows that that shouldn't be set in stone. It should be open to what comes in and what might be available.
Yep, absolutely. Anybody else?
Yes. Yeah, I can reiterate that. I don't know that I mentioned that previously, but there's like the list along here has a number of call outs for kind of very specific uses. And again, that's part of the conceptual division. That should all be very fluid, and you have to do what's best with the market yields and what the developer. But that's kind of supporting a lot of the thought that went into the framework here.
I think it's one of those things where the town has kind of always felt it's better to have some form of plan in place that we, as a guiding principle. But we also understand that adaptability is the name of the game, and we have to adapt to who's gonna invest in that, like Lynn said. So, anything else from up here, comments, questions for staff or for Caleb? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2026 one for Pendleton I-69 interchange master plan update. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of resolution 2026 one the Pendleton I-69 interchange master plan update. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Moving on to item C, ordinance 2026 2 amending the zone map for Hike Farms. Denise, would you like to talk about that for a second? before you bring
Yep,
petitioner
I'll
up?
introduce this a little bit. Can you go to the ordinance, Jacob? I believe that it is maybe at the very tail end. We'll bring up here the site. Detail. Keep on going down further, you'll see an outline is yellow dash.
It's in the package.
That's the resolution, I'm sorry.
Should be ordinance.
That glare is right there. I think. Oh, what is that?
These two lights go off.
I know, but then I'll fall asleep.
These two though.
I know.
I promise.
See that
I
one?
seen it there earlier.
We'll see how. As long as the laser pointer doesn't go in my eye like.
Yeah. But if you just, yeah. If
Go
you-
wrong.
There you
There
go.
we go. If I.
What we'll do, if you want to just pause right there, that's perfectly fine. Sorry get that. Okay, no, you're okay. All right. So just some, we do have petitioner here, this evening with us, petitioner is Lone Pine LLC, represented by Brian Toohey. So Brian Toohey, we're going to, welcome him up to the podium to present, this rezone petition. But, just kind of orientate, you with this property. This property is, this property right here. Is about 21 acres. It's located off of North Pendleton Avenue. So it sits just north of 600 South that runs here, connects into North Pendleton Avenue. There are several residential properties and agricultural properties around this area. Particularly, you'll see a lot of those larger SF1 properties around this parcel. But then just right here, and you can't see it in the picture, is Carrot Glen. So Carrot Glen is very much complementing mirror to what we propose to go into this particular site. It's at SF3, about 7350 square foot in lot size there. This particular parcel is 21 acres. It is currently at agricultural, the second smallest ag zoning that we have here. And they are proposing to put in about 42 homes in there, which does meet the density requirements for our planning code there for the UDO. This also an analysis that was presented at Planning Commission, this development and what is being proposed, not only in the rezone request, but also you're going to hear several different commitments that are also in your Teams Drive along with the documents here. I think there's about 15 commitments that this developer has agreed to. And a lot of those that they've just come willing to offer with this development. But then also too, in reflection of some comments and feedbacks from not only Planning Commission, but also the residents in the nearby area. They've been great to work with and very responsive to those comments. This development does meet the comprehensive plan that we have slated for that type of use being appropriate in that area. It is also deemed in character of the surrounding areas, and this development would meet all of our standards. They do have a board of zoning appeals, small variance requests that are going here in a couple of weeks. But other than that, we do want to inform you that this has gotten the favorable recommendation, and we would feel that this is appropriate and ready to be introduced to you for consideration. That being said, after this presentation, if you have any questions for myself or staff, we'd be more than happy to answer. But we'll welcome Brian Toohey to come up here and present his rezone.
Thank
This, if you want to do this. Oh, you've got one. Perfect. You are.
Brian's first
Hey, this
review.
one, I'm not having much luck.
That'll move the slides.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Madam President, members of the town council, good evening. My name is Brian Toohey. My address is 9294 North Meridian. Here with me tonight is Matt Dunn, who's the principal in the developer Lone Pine 2 LLC, which is an affiliate of Dunhaven Homes, which will actually be building the homes. And thank you for hearing our case. As Denise said, this is a petition to rezone about 21 acres from A2 to SF3. And it's at the northwest corner of 600 South and Pendleton Avenue. The site is owned by the Ernest and Jones Height Farms, Inc. And as you can see, it's just north of 600, it's just north of the Carrot Glen subdivision, which is there at the bottom of that exhibit. The site is zoned now A2. We respectfully requested a rezoning to SF3, which is the same zoning, which is right here to the south of 600. That's Carrot Glen. And the surrounding zonings A1, RR, SF1, and some other agricultural zonings. Your comprehensive plan suggests that single-family residential development is appropriate for this site, and that's what this subdivision is proposed to be, all single-family homes. I don't know that I said it, but there'll be 42 of them on the 21 acres. We went to the Planning Commission in 2 different meetings, and the reason I use this slide is to show the town council that we made some changes, not only at the suggestion of the Planning Commission, but at the suggestion of your planning department, Denise and Hannah Rose, and to try to accommodate our most immediate neighbor. Some of those changes, members of the council included, we had a cul-de-sac up here. The Planning Commission or Planning Department suggested we have a road that would stub there, so it would stub into future development and accommodate that. They suggested that we consider having a trail along the perimeter so we can connect this common area up to this common area and then a trail through here like so. And we incorporated that. They suggested we add a playground and some amenities in this area, which we did do. And they suggested we add some additional buffering along this perimeter, and we did that as well. And I'll talk to you in a minute about the commitments that Denise mentioned. Also, I think it's the President of the Planning Commission suggested that we might want to have on certain lots, certain additional commitments so that these would be just 1-story homes so that the folks next door to us would not be back up to 2-story homes. And Mr. Dunn and his team have agreed to do that. That's also shows this additional buffer yard under your ordinance. As I understand it, you would normally have just a type 1 buffer yard from residential against residential. We've actually agreed along this area to put a medium buffer yard, which will increase the screening and the separation between those two. We've also agreed that on these homes here, any condensers or generators would be located on the side yards rather than the rear yards, again, to mitigate from going from a farm field to a residential community. And we have a commitment not to have any pole lighting, highlighting to distract or take away adding light to the neighboring property owner. This exhibit shows the difference between those buffers. This is what you would typically see between 2 residential areas. This is the buffer that we've agreed to, along with some additional berming in there again to provide a better screen. This is an example of what our entry sign might look like. We want to make sure we meet your ordinance, and we will, but that's a rendering of what that would look like. Denise mentioned the lots. All of the lots not only comply with your standards, but 80% of the lots will actually be larger than the SF3 standards, and the lots will range in size from what the standard is of 7,350 square feet to over 15,000 square feet. But as I said, 80% of the lots are larger than the minimum lot size required under your ordinance. There's a pretty good tree stand right in here, and the Planning Commission and Denise and her team and Rose suggested that we come up with a commitment to preserve that, and that commitment is in there. We preserve the right to take out trees that are diseased or dying, but this subdivision has been designed, these lots, so that tree stand stays in the common area here, not in the lots, and it will be preserved. The this just shows that green area that I was speaking of that stays in place along here, also shows the buffer yards around the development. This isn't the most current plan because it doesn't show that extension substreet. The types of homes that Mr. Dunn and his team would plan on building, they range in size from about 1,600 square feet to about 3,000 square feet. And these homes are expected to cost between $375,000 to over $500,000. Denise mentioned the variance that we're applying for. We understand there's a number of folks in Pendleton that desire to have golf carts. And so if we can attract that person that wants that, we want to have the ability to have bump out in the garages to accommodate those golf carts. And that's the variance that we are going to go before the BZA Board of Zoning Appeals for. We engaged A&F Engineering, which I think is the same traffic engineer the town uses to analyze the road trips on this from this subdivision. And in a traffic letter, they conclude that the number of vehicles for 42 homes is minimal and that the access point on Pendleton Avenue will work safely and efficiently. Obviously, the town council understands some of the elements to look at. This slide just indicates that we would suggest that the SF3 meets the comprehensive plan recommendation of single family residential zoning. That's one of the elements you look at in a rezoning. Another element is the current conditions and character of the surrounding area. That's single family homes and this is single family home subdivision. You have to consider whether it's a desirable use. We would suggest it is a desirable use on a small site surrounded by single family homes. The homes are estimated, as I mentioned, to cost between $375,000 and $500,000 or more. We would suggest that adds significant amount to the Pendleton tax base and conserves property values. And the rezoning will allow for attractive single family homes to be built near other single family homes. We would suggest that is responsible growth and development. Denise mentioned the commitments. So this is a result of listening to the Planning Commission and the planners. We've come up with 15 commitments. I'll sort of summarize them. The first one is that the homes would be built from brick, stone, and wood, and composite wood materials like hardy plank. There would not be vinyl siding in the neighborhood. We would install a safety shelf in the detention ponds. And the HOA would be responsible for maintenance of those ponds. We would install a playground in the area. We've worked and met and talked to our immediate neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Dillon. They're the parcel right to the east of us, and we'll provide those folks with an allowance of $15,000 that we'll get our final plans approved so that they could install a fence on their property. We'll provide for connectivity between the common areas, which I showed you a minute ago. That was a suggestion of the Planning Commission. We'll design the entrance off of Pendleton Avenue with one inbound lane and two outbound lanes, and we'll have a median in the middle of that. We'll install a taper along Pendleton Avenue, and that will have the common border, which I mentioned a minute ago. It will be a medium buffer rather than, which is a type 2 buffer, I believe, rather than the type 1 buffer. And we've outlined what the landscaping would include: a berm, shade trees, evergreen trees, and shrubs every so many feet. We've also agreed to maintain that existing tree line along the northeast border, and that there would be no two-story homes on those 6 lots, which I indicated in an earlier exhibit, that we would not have HVAC units or generators within, they'd be located within the side yards rather than the rear yards of the lots adjacent to the Dillon family. We would include in our declaration a prohibition against pole-mounted high-intensity lighting. We'll comply with the applicable noise ordinances and construction work hours when we're developing the neighborhood. And we will dedicate right-of-way, the appropriate right-of-way along Pendleton Avenue, County Road South, 600 South, to accommodate roadway improvements. And then the staff asked us that we would agree, which we did, to verify the entrance location on Pendleton Avenue for geometric and site distance considerations. This is the final land plan, again, this is my, primarily just to show that we took out that cul-de-sac and we've got that stub street running to the north. So, members of the council, again, thanks for hearing our case this evening. We did receive a favorable recommendation from the planning commission. I believe it was unanimous. We would suggest that this is compatible with your comprehensive plan. We'll provide sidewalks on both sides of the street and on the perimeter to provide connectivity along 600 and Pendleton Avenue. That will allow eventual connectivity to some neighborhoods. I understand there's some improvements in mind along 600 to perhaps for a crosswalk to allow a better connection to Pear Glen. This is a very significant capital investment. It's about $18 million. That would be I think it's a significant addition to your tax base. This Mr. Dunn and his family, they're a proven developer. They have a successful track record. And they agreed to, I believe, almost all the commitments that were suggested to us by the planning commission. And they received a favorable recommendation. Thanks for hearing our case. We'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Brian?
I noticed you talked about you were gonna do a cul-de-sac on the one street. Did each guys suggested to just stub that for future? I think that's a good thinking.
Just in our projection of where growth is going to happen, we anticipate that property to the west, also property to the north, could easily develop in the next 10 years. Residential development. That is a part of our standards and access management and control ordinance as far and also supported in our UDO that we do provide that connectivity and that foresight to have those connections made. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If I may on that, also, the people who live on 360, which is a dead end, is sometimes blocked by the railroad.
Yes.
And so we have committed to, during our planning, to make sure that that is eventually connected so that for convenience, we do have a way to have police, fire, and ambulance get to that if there is a train blocking it. So just a gravel roads. But anyway, that's one of the main purposes for making sure that connectivity, however it develops, eventually meanders to 360.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for the petitioner or for Denise?
What are the other developments that they've worked on in Pendleton?
Baker's Point, that this was originally, Mr. Dunn was in charge of that, and Carrot Glen. Carrot Glen was the one that he was first got into.
His company, or he worked for a company that did that?
That is a very involved question, but the way to answer it is, originally it was his company, his and his father's and brothers. Then they were acquired, and he worked for them, the acquiring company, for a while. And now he and his dad and his brothers have gone back out on there. I didn't mean to give you a long answer.
No, that's fine. I heard.
That's the story.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comment regarding this ordinance? There aren't any other comments from up here or out there. I will entertain a motion for ordinance 2026-02, amending the zone map Height Farms.
Make the motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 2026-02, amending the zoning map Height Farms. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item D, resolution 2026-02, fiscal plan annexation of who doesn't have an address, 067, the Gibson property.
Is that the resolution?
That's the resolution. I have a Gibson fiscal plan with maps.
Okay, yeah, yes, that's where it is. You're right. Yes, it's on the fiscal plan. Okay, sorry. Yes, and exactly. Okay. So yeah, so this is the annexation petition. This was filed by Larry and Betty Gibson. This property is actually located 0 State Road 67. Does not have an actual physical address yet just because it is undeveloped site. This is located on the southwest side of town. If you go up to the page right on top of that.
All right.
Front page, yes, right there. You'll see that it's located right here. This is State Road 9, State Road 67. So this just borders our very most far southwest end of our town. Tonight, what we will be presenting is first the resolution. A part of this resolution would be adopting the fiscal plan. This is a required process for annexation that is being considered. After the introduction of the fiscal plan and the petition tonight, then what we will do is we'll open for public hearing, for public comment. Then after comments are made, then it'll be closed. And then that'll allow for a vote on whether or not we will adopt that fiscal plan. After that, then we will then just introduce the ordinance for the annexation, ordinance 2603. And then we will then set that then for an adoption hearing at the next town council meeting, which would be March 12th of this year. So for petition, if you want to go ahead and go on down then to the next page. This particular parcel, it is within Fall Creek Township. It is currently within the unincorporated Madison County. And so you'll see here, these parcels here are within the town of Pendleton. You'll see it's kind of shaded green. It's from our zoning map. Are zoned rural residential. So these 3 parcels are also owned by the Gibsons. So they would like their 4th parcel there right next to it, adjacent to these 3 parcels, annexed in within the town. They're all together with the 4 parcels are about 8-9 acres. However, here it's a little bit under 3 acres. As far as non-capital and capital services available, they are either already available or they will be available within the next 3 years. Those are assets such as road access, roadway infrastructure, fire and police protection, public and private utility. This particular parcel, it meets the contiguous requirement set forth in the state statute. There has to be at least a minimum of 1/8 of this entire perimeter of this parcel has to border then the property line that then touches our jurisdiction there. So for this particular petition, it's about, so 1/8 is about 12.5%. So it's about 22% contiguity that is being met and exceeds that requirement. Petitioner is seeking here through this annexation, they're asking to be annexed into the town of Pendleton. The petitioners are here tonight with us, so if you have any questions for them, they are here to answer questions as well. But they are seeking for that area to be zoned as rural residential zoning classification, which would be in sync and mirror and complement of their parcels here to the east. Also, for this area, it would fall under District 2. So that would kind of align with our new district boundaries. And if you look at the comprehensive plan, the future land use map, this particular area here, kind of in this kind of zone, in our comprehensive plan and the update, we actually added an additional projection map for future land uses outside of the town of Pendleton's boundaries. And so kind of in this area, not particularly this parcel, but these parcels here and including these 4 parcels here are envisioned that it could be eventually light industrial area. But we do feel that it is appropriate to bring it in as rural residential with it being undeveloped. And then at some point, if this particular parcel does want to, the property owners do wish to sell and develop these parcels, we will take a look at it at that point. But right now, we do feel that it is very appropriate for it to come in as rural residential. Just to kind of introduce a little bit as far as the fiscal plan that is outlined also, and provided in your team's folder. But we have taken a look, Reedy Financial has taken a deep dive into the support that would be required for this particular parcel coming in, as well as any anticipated revenues or expenditures. So in review and full analysis of like net AV, projected lit, that's that public safety and certified shares, local road and street revenues, any type of overlapping circuit breakers and projected service costs and tax rates. The impacts for this particular parcel being brought into the town has been deemed that there is not going to be any type of significant impacts to the town financially. So that the town would anticipate that any revenue that would be brought in with the growth and the addition into would match the expenses going. And so that also too shows that our parks, our fire, our police services and utilities are already sufficient at this time or would be sufficient, you know. So that being said, we'd like to present this for your consideration. You know, for your adoption of approval of this resolution and this fiscal plan.
Any questions for Denise on the fiscal plan and this first step? And just as a point of record, I'm so excited that we get to do this on a normal council cycle.
Yeah, it's not a special.
In December, we met 3 times to accomplish a simple annexation, so I'm excited that we can do this part tonight and the next part at our normally scheduled meeting in March. So any questions regarding the fiscal plan? If there aren't any, I'll entertain a motion for, sure, yes, let's go ahead and open the public hearing and entertain any public comment regarding this annexation. And then I close the public hearing and then do the vote. Okay. Then I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2026-02, the fiscal plan regarding zeros. Oh, go ahead.
You know what, I think before we vote on the resolution, I would suggest having first read on.
Okay, yeah.
Just
Okay, okay,
that way, we really the
we'll
word.
do the first read and then what we have, if that does move forward then with the fiscal plan, then we have to a max or a minimum of 14 days from tonight to under 60 days, then we will have a hearing then on the adoption of the ordinance. So yes, I could definitely introduce the ordinance if you'd like.
Okay, so just to make sure I know what we're doing, we're gonna do a first read on ordinance 2026-03.
It's just yeah,
And just the motion,
just
no vote. And then we're gonna go back and do the resolution
to consider.
on the resolution after we do that. Okay. Hey Denise, go ahead and talk to us about the ordinance.
So the ordinance for annexation, you know, into our territory and into our towns. Basically, it outlines, it confirms that the request meets the Indiana code. It also establishes that the facts that were presented this evening are correct, that council district number 2 is applicable to the site, that it aligns and with and it assigns the rural residential zoning classification for this particular parcel. And then it sets forth that the effective date and expiration would be 30 days after the adoption hearing. And you know, once we have that here anticipated for the March 12th hearing. Then we do not receive any opposition or objection by the public, then we can move forward with getting that ordinance recorded with the county to make it official.
Any questions regarding ordinance 2026-03, the super voluntary annexation of the Gibson property on State Road 67? Okay, can I entertain a motion for first reading?
For first read.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second that constitutes first read on ordinance 2026-03, super voluntary annexation of Gibson property on State Road 67. Done. That constitutes first read. Now we'll go back and do a, is there any other public comment before we proceed to the fiscal plan resolution? Okay, no. All right, then now I will entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2026-02, the fiscal plan regarding the Gibson property on State Road 67. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for resolution 2026-02 fiscal plan annexation of 0 State Road 67 Gibson property. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, so now, are we still on track then to do it on the March meeting? Okay, perfect. Love that. Okay, moving on to item F, right of way acquisition parcel 7, South Pendleton Avenue, South Main.
So this is one of the right-of-way takes that we need for the extension of the rebuilding of the line, the electric lines along Main Street onto Pendleton Avenue. This parcel is a little bit more complicated, as you probably are familiar with. The driveway and the house are quite close to the intersection there. And so that's why this is a little bit a larger compensation than the other parcels have been. It's just like what we've done earlier, other than that, a little bit more expensive. Remember, we're moving the poles a little bit out away from the roadway. And those poles would be new, and so we have to do that. The pole that's located there a little bit closer or a little bit farther away from the roadway.
Remember, we did a batch of these in December, and it's worked out seamlessly to this point, so just one more for right now. Any questions for Scott? Okay, then I will entertain a motion for approval of the right-of-way acquisition of parcel 7, South Pendleton Avenue, South Main Street. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of the right-of-way acquisition of parcel 7, South Pendleton Avenue, South Main Street. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Go for it. Acquire that right of way. Okay.
Sure.
Any public comment? Anything from anybody up here? Anything lingering from staff? Okay. Then at 7:27, adjourn the meeting.